Okay, cool thing, guys. So let's just get started. Right. So today's topic that we are going to talk about in detail is just going to be one agent, right? So what is Dynatrace One Agent? Because in the previous session we kind of touched base upon what Dynatrace One Agent is, what the holy mighty One Agent is, right? So what basically is Dynatrace One Agent, right? It's an agent which is provided by Dynatrace, which we'll be seeing down in the sessions, right? So I know there are a little bit of changes that I kind of did in the session because we just had like 40 minutes and I wanted to wrap it up within 20 so that we can have 20 minutes of span for our Q&A sessions. Okay. So what the topics are going to look like. So what's in the agenda for today, right? So what exactly is one agent? That's the first thing that we are going to talk about. One agent क्या करता है? One agent के अंदर क्या चीजें होती हैं, right? So what are the terminologies? What are the concepts? What are the things? Second thing that we are going to see in today's session is going to be understanding one agent basics, right? So we will be understanding one agent 101 fashion, right? To get into its core, to understand, and third is going to be one agent installation on Windows and how or what are the best practices that we should look out when we are trying to install the one agent, right? So what are the things that we need to keep in mind? How all of those things can really impact us in a longer run, right? And then we will try to see if we can install something on Linux. However, I was trying last night to build up a test bed for the Linux setup, but I couldn't. So possibly this could be one area that we may not be able to cover today, but definitely we'll be covering it up in the upcoming sessions as well, right? And anytime between the sessions, guys, if you feel like that you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat or just give a thumbs up, like raise your hands, or feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead with your questions, right? So what exactly is one agent, right? Why do we really need one agent, or what's exactly the purpose of one agent, right? So one agent, so Dynatrace one agent is essentially one binary file that comprises a set of specialized services, right? So when I say that it's one binary file, that means there are a lot of different agents which are kind of bundled in this particular one agent, right? So Dynatrace does not provide you 10 different agents for everything, right? If you want to monitor your infra, you don't need a separate agent. If you want to monitor your Java apps, you don't really need a separate agent. If you want to monitor your .NET, you don't really need a separate agent for that, right? You just have got one single agent that does all of these things, right? So that's the reason it is essentially one binary file which comprises set of specialized services, right? And these services are specifically configured to monitor your environment, right? And why do we really need these agents? Because these collects metrics, right? Traces, they collect logs, they collect a lot of different things, right? And why do we or what kind of technologies do we really support, right? So primarily we do look out for Node.js, Java, .NET, and there are like 600 plus technologies that Dynatrace One Agent supports, and even more than that, right? So 600 is just an odd figure, which I remember about 6, 7 odd months back, right? But we are expanding our horizons even further and further and further, right? So just by installing the one agent, what are the details that you will be getting in, right? So you'll be getting your code level insights into your services or basically into your application, right? So within your application, you have lot of codes which are running. You have a lot of APIs. You have database connectivities. You have your infra. You have a lot of things which are running on your servers, right? And all of them are relying on the application, or basically your application is kind of connected to everything, right? So with this one agent, I can basically go on and monitor my APIs. I can go on and monitor my databases. I can go on and monitor my services, my JVMs, my host, and everything. In fact, even the real users, right? So this one agent does the server side monitoring, right? Or basically your host level monitoring or server level monitoring. At the same time, we can also use this one agent to do the real user monitoring, right? So how does this real user monitoring really work? So that's a separate topic altogether that we'll be covering up. But just on a high level, one agent basically injects a JavaScript into your HTML on each of your application pages, and that happens automatically. You don't have to do anything manual, right? which basically gives you the real user monitoring of your end customers, right? So just to summarize this slide, what is OneAgent? It's just one single binary file that contains a lot of specialized configured services. It's basically a bundle that collects your metrics, that collects your traces, that collects your logs, that collects all of the information on the server, right? What are the primary technologies that we cover? Java, .NET, PHP, Go, Mongo, PostgreSQL, MS SQL, Oracle, and 600 plus odd technologies. So there is a comprehensive list, which anyways when I'll be uploading this video, I'll be putting in the description box, right? So you can go and check it out. So just by installing the agents, what information I'll be getting? I'll be getting my code level insights, right, of all of the services within my application, right? And OneAgent also helps us monitor the real users, right, for your application, right? So with the OneAgent, right? So this basically is how the OneAgent symbol would look like within Dynatrace. So the minute you install OneAgent on your server, right, what are the information that you'll be getting, right? You'll be getting the infrastructure monitoring on the data center level, right? So let's say if there are 10, 20 different odd servers within your data centers, right? You can monitor them easily and it will give you a quick glance of how your data center really looks like. Second level of monitoring that you have is infrastructure again, but in terms of how the servers or basically the hosts are performing, right? So whether the hosts are performing healthy, whether they are unhealthy, if they are unhealthy, what's the reason behind it, whether it's your CPU, it's your memory, it's your let's say processes, it's your disk, which is kind of causing the problem. So all gets covered under the host level monitoring. Third, again, it's going to be infrastructure because these three are from the infrastructure perspective, right? It is going to be your processes. When I say processes, so any services that you run on your server, right? When I say services, that means if you're running any JVMs, like Java ke kuch aap cheezein run kar rahe ho, if you're running .NET, if you're running Mongo, right? So all of your JVMs, CLRs, which are running on your server, right? They get monitored by Dynatrace, and Dynatrace correlates all of these things automatically to give you an end-to-end visibility within your application, right? So these three sections are purely the infra side of it, right? Along with that, these two are from the apps, right? So what do we really get on the application side, right? So you get your server side service monitoring, right? When I say server side service monitoring, anything that has a code running, right, is basically monitored under this particular section. When I say code, I mean that could be an API, right? That could be an remote procedure call. That could be a web service. That could be a web request service or anything, right? So anything that has to do with your code, your API, that gets called in the server side monitoring, right? Or we basically called it as services within Dynatrace, right? And so anything that has a UI and can be accessed over a mobile app or a web browser, that is basically called as an application, right? Where you can monitor your real users. So all of these five different components gets captured by just this one single agent, right? Unlike different products which are there in the market, right? You need to install, let's say, a different agent for monitoring your servers, a different agent for monitoring your Javas, a different agent for monitoring your databases, a different agent for monitoring other set of technologies, right? Whereas within Dynatrace, you just need this one single agent, which kind of covers this entire stack of your application, right? Ranging from your data centers to host to processes to services to your application, right? And there is just a quick clarification that I'll be giving down here, right? So what is the difference between this services and the application, right? So services are anything which are running on these servers, right? Whereas the application are something which can only be accessed over a browser, right? So within Dynatrace, don't get confused by this application and services because application is something that is accessed over a browser and services are something that runs on the server side and have no UI, right? So जिसका भी UI है वो application बनता है, जिसका UI नहीं है वो service बनता है, ठीक है? Just to be very clear, so that we don't have a confusion moving forward, right? Why do we really need these OneAgents, right? Again, what we have just discussed, right? If you want to do the real user monitoring, definitely you need a OneAgent. If you want to monitor your mobile apps, Again, you need a one agent. If you want to monitor your APIs, your server side transactions, your logs, all that, you need a one agent, right? You want to monitor your network, you want to monitor your JVM, CLRs, you want to monitor your servers, you will be needing an one agent. Let's say again, you are running on cloud, right? आपके पास AWS है, and you would want to monitor your AWS instances, you will be needing one agent, right? Be it could be AWS, it could be Azure, it could be GCP, it could be Tanzu, it could be anything, any cloud provider, right? If you want to monitor them, you'd be needing one agent, right? Let's say you want to monitor your Dockers, you want to monitor your containers, Kubernetes, you'll be needing that one agent, right? And the best part about Dynatrace is that you get the automated root cause identification or root cause analysis. For that as well, we'll be requiring one agent for that same, right? So for your root cause analysis as well, you will be needing one agent, right? So I'll just be pausing here for 2 minutes. Any questions so far? Anything that you have in mind or anything that you would want to ask? Okay, fair enough. We don't have any questions, right? So let's
Hi,
just move.
Rishabh.
Yes, again.
Thank you for the session, Rishabh. Sajal here. I
Mhm.
just wanted one in-depth detail. When you say one agent injects itself into the process, what do you exactly mean at the code level?
Okay,
Because this is one of the favorite questions from the clients.
I get that. Okay, so when we say that we inject ourselves within your application pieces of code, right? So what we basically do, so the minute you install the Dynatrace One agent, so I'll just go back to the previous slide. So the minute we install this one agent within your application or within your servers, okay. So the minute we install this one agent on your server, what it will basically do, it will create a wrapper around your application and it will inject its own set of headers, right? So Dynatrace basically operates on headers, right? So I will be adding additional set of headers onto your application code, right? That will allow to send all of this data back to Dynatrace, be it be you're running managed or you're on SaaS, that helps us in getting the application visibility. So we are not altering your code, we are not changing anything, we are just appending our set of headers to actively track your transactions. Right? So that's what the one agent really does in the background when we say we do the instrumentation on your application. Right? So I hope this answers your question, right?
Yeah, thanks, Rishabh.
Okay. So tell us the difference between, so there is a question in the chat, guys. Tell us the difference between web service and web request service. Okay. So that's a separate topic, Swapnil, but the difference on a high level would be web request service means that there is a, there is a request that's kind of hitting onto your services, right, onto your server, and that's a plain simple URL request. Whereas the web services means that you have created an endpoint, right, and you have done kind of constructor overloading inside that the URL could be same, but the processing within the services could be different depending upon what parameters are being passed, right? So I'll again share you that link, but that's a bigger set of topic that I'll be covering later on. But just to answer the question, we can say that we say our one agent is native agent. What does it mean? Can you explain if you feel suitable? Okay, so when you say native agent, can you explain by that what exactly do you mean by the native agent? You can put it in the chat, Ashok. I can pick up that question. Matlab, I just want to double click on that word native to understand it better, so that I can give an answer to that. Right. So let's just move forward. Let's just try to understand the one agent. Right. So we talked about one agent kya karta hai, what specifics are of one agent, how it really performs, what it does, right? But let's get into the details, right? So Dynatrace One Agent is available in three different options, right? So there are three different modes or three different monitoring modes precisely, right? And these are again, guys, all documented. These are not something which I am making up. These are all documented on these reference links, which again, I'll be putting down when I'll be posting this video, so you can access all of these informations again, and you can type it on Google as well to get all of these information, right? So what are the three different modes of Dynatrace? So the first mode, which is very favorite of all of us, right, is called as the full stack mode, right? So with full stack mode, you can basically monitor your servers, you can monitor your application, you can monitor real user monitoring, you can do host level analysis, you can do network level analysis, you can do all of these things, right? So these are the checkboxes. Let's say you want to do a topology or discovery, right? So you go ahead with OneAgent in full stack mode. You want to do host criticality, you want to understand what are the dependencies of the server, go ahead with full stack. So basically all of these capabilities that we are talking about, right, all can be done by the Dynatrace OneAgent in full stack mode, right? Again, so there is second mode which is called as infrastructure mode, right? So what we basically mean when we say infrastructure mode, right? So within infrastructure mode, I'll be doing all of these things, but I'll not be doing the code level analysis, or I'll not be looking out for your application pieces of code, right? I will basically not look out for any APIs. I'll not do the application injection. I'll not tell you what's the problem within your application. It's just purely infrastructure related details that you'll be getting within the infrastructure mode, right? So this gives you the application view, right? This gives you the infra view. And on top of the infra view, here you can do all of these correlations and syncing automatically, which you don't get within the discovery mode, right? So for a couple of people who are new to this setup, you probably would not know these things. But for the people who have been in the system for a while, who have been accessing, who have been using Dynatrace, they are probably very familiar with these two modes, right? But recently, about some time back, Dynatrace also brought in the new mode of the OneAgent, which is basically called as the discovery mode, right? And again, just a word of caution, guys, this discovery mode is available in Dynatrace SaaS only. It's not available on Dynatrace Managed, right? So ये Dynatrace on-prem पे available नहीं है. It's not available on Dynatrace on-prem. It's only exclusively available on Dynatrace SaaS, right? What do you mean by opt-in, and what is the difference between opt-in infra and green checks? Okay, so my bad. I kind of missed. So while I was taking the screenshot, I kind of missed the application section down here. So that was like a cross down here. I kind of missed that. So that's my bad. But the opt-in modes means that you get the feasibility to do the extensions monitoring, you get the feasibility to do the log monitoring, the process injection, and the application security. So these are additional opt-in modules, right? Please elaborate on the process injection. Okay. So these are basically the additional modules that you can do on top of these different modes, right? So within application, within full stack, here is a section which is called as the application monitoring. That was checked. So I kind of missed, right? Down here while taking the screenshot because मतलब यहाँ पे एक जगह नहीं थी तो probably I might have missed. But that was one section that is kind of left down here. But yes, you can opt in modes में. It's all about that. If you want to go ahead, enable all of these things, you can definitely go ahead and do that, right? So I hope that that answers your question. Please elaborate on process injection. Okay. So process injection basically means, again, we were just discussing that same thing, that I can basically go on and add additional set of headers on top of your application, which gives me the end-to-end correlation and end-to-end visibility within my application, right? So that's called as process injection within Dynatrace, right? And third, so what are the advantages of discovery mode? Definitely, we are going to talk about it, Akash. So just hold up for a couple of minutes, right? So what is the discovery mode? Why we really wanted a discovery mode to come out, right? So definitely there are different applications where you would want to monitor your infrastructure with your processes or your application processes, right? There are applications, there are servers where you would want to monitor your apps in control, full in-depth detail, right? So infra के लिए I have an agent, right? App के लिए again I have an agent, right? But still there could be some of your servers, right, where you don't really need the process level details, right? So why do I want to go for that, right? Or I don't really want to install the full stack agent because again, with all of these modes, there are variable license consumptions attached to it, right? So this license would be consumed as 1, so this would be zero point 0.5, right? So why do I need a zero point 0.5 license? Because I only want the infrastructure level details, right? So with the discovery mode, right, what you can do, you can only and only do the health checks and the OS level monitoring of the server. You don't get the process level correlations, right? So this discovery mode will only monitor your CPU, your network, your disk, right, on the server, right? So it will basically monitor your host health, right? So that's all which this file discovery mode will do, right? And why do we really need that? What are the advantages? So still there are some servers like file server, right, where you would not have any or any storages, where you don't really want to go on and see that whether things are working fine or not. You just want to ensure whether the servers are up or not, right? So consider it as an AWS agent, which is only there to see whether the EC2s are up or not, right? So that's a very lightweight agent which kind of tells you whether the server is healthy or not, whether the server is up or not. So ये सारे information आपको discovery mode में मिलते हैं. So this is what you get within the discovery mode. And again, this discovery mode helps us in expanding the horizons. It helps us in expanding what all visibilities can I have within my application, right? So that's where the discovery mode really helps. Why do we install OneAgent in infra mode on DB servers? Okay, so the reason behind doing that is that I extract all of the database related information from the full stack agent on the applications itself, right? I don't really go on and instrument your databases, right? But why do I need to put a OneAgent in the infra only mode? Is just because I also want to understand whether my database is healthy or not, right? In terms of the infrastructure related resources, right? So your database could be impacted from the application. At the same time, it could also be impacted because of the infra consumption or the infra resources which are being consumed on your service, right? So that's the reason why we install OneAgent in infra mode on your databases, right? Does the license consumption change with the type of OneAgent monitoring mode? Will you please explain that as well? Yes, definitely. So with these different modes, your license consumption will change accordingly, right? So let's say if you're running in full stack mode, right, it will consume one license as example, assuming that, right? So with infrastructure mode, you will be consuming zero point 0.5, right? Because that gets half of it. So this is just an example. I'm not giving you the uh, figures, right? I'm just trying to get you guys a gist of it, how it really works, right? And with the discovery mode, this goes down to zero point 0.3, right? So why such a change within your license consumption? That's because here you get all of the informations. Here you get partial level of information, which is only centric around infrastructure and your JVMs and your process related health, which in the later on part of the session, I'll be showing that, right? And in discovery mode, you only get the visibility into your infrastructure, no process related health, right? So आपको process related कोई detail नहीं मिलेगा, no memory analysis, no network analysis, no disk analysis, no host process details or what things are running on the host, right? It's just purely infrastructure that you'll be getting, right? Absolutely. We will be having a separate session in detailed session for all of these different modes. So today we just wanted to go around and see how you can install an OneAgent. Let's say you want to give it a try, go ahead, create your free trial accounts, and you can try to use all of these different things, right? So just looking at the time frame, we'll be moving forward, right? So what are the different options which are available when you try to install the OneAgent, right? So if you guys have already installed the agent in the past, just give me a hands up so that I can know that people are familiar with these sections. If you're not, that's okay. I'll again anyways be talking about it. But if you're familiar with all of these sections, just give me a hands up. I can see just one guy. Second. Okay. Fair enough. Not a problem, guys. Perfect. Just keep on giving me the thumbs up. Okay. So I see a couple of people have already used all of these features, but let's talk about all of these things in great depth. in details, right? So whenever you will be, again, we are going to see all of these things real time on the UI, on the screens, right? But what exactly are these individual components, or why do I really need all of these individual parameters to be set or to be tuned, right? Because these parameters are the building blocks when you get down into production level configuration and your production level setup, right? Uh, 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 okay, Nirmala, that's a quite bigger question. So I have to take it up later. But yeah, we'll be answering that. Okay. So talking about these options. So you get five of these options available and the monitoring mode, which is six, right? So we just kind of discussed this monitoring mode, right? So moving on with the network zone. So what exactly is network zone? That's something that we'll be checking out in the subsequent slides. What exactly is host grouping, right? That will be checking in the subsequent slide. So let's talk about these custom hosts, tags, and properties, right? So let's say if you are deploying an agent and you would want to give it a separate name within Dynatrace, or you want to give a customized or an exclusive name within Dynatrace, that's where you can change this parameter and you can give, let's say, any customized name to your application. Let's say I want to give it as ABC, right? Okay, right? So I want to give it as ABC. I can do that, right? Let's say you want to apply certain tags. You can do that within Dynatrace. You can say that I want this application server belongs to application A or owner B or something else and something else. You want to define additional set of properties. You can do that within Dynatrace, right? So how these individual components really impact, right? So what basically network zones are, you can segregate or you can categorize or you can organize your environment that, let's say, from data center A, my application should or my agent should only report to the proxy servers of data center A, and it should go back to the Dynatrace cluster and it should not communicate to a separate data center, right? So what really happens within Dynatrace, you can categorize or you can organize your proxy servers. That's a subsequent session that again we are going to have, which is called as an active gate. So your agents are free to communicate to all of the available active gates, right? So without the network zones uh, definition, it can connect to any active gate on any of your data centers, right? Let's say you have two different data centers. यहाँ पे भी आपके पास proxy है, यहाँ पे भी आपके पास proxy है. So agents can connect to either this or this one, right? So both of your data centers could be connected by the agent. And what really happens, or what is the problem behind this? That you will not be able to organize the flow of data, right? And what will happen? You will have additional set of hops, right? So the agent has to come from a data center A, go to data center B, and from then data center B, it will come back to the Dynatrace cluster, right? So that becomes bigger of a challenge when people want to organize their agents, they want to organize their network flows and all that, right? So what Dynatrace really did, Dynatrace came up with a concept called as network zones, where you can restrict these one agents and tell them that only report to your data center A proxies, and for data center B only report to your data center B proxies. So now there will be no communication amongst the agents to a different data center, right? So you basically get a feasibility to restrict the data centers, right? And all of these servers again are communicating directly to your primary data centers or wherever the Dynatrace cluster really resides, right? So that's the concept of network zones, right? And the second concept that we are going to look is called as the host groups, right? So what basically are host groups? Host groups are, you can call it as a logical way of categorizing your environments. And why it is very important? It is important because it builds up the building blocks. It basically, I would say, it categorizes your environment, right? So let's say application A का डेटा सिर्फ और सिर्फ एप्लीकेशन ए के ग्रुप में रहना चाहिए. So that is where the host group really happens, right? So let's say you have different servers. This becomes your host group one or host group A. All of the servers will create a process group, right, of host A or application A, and they become a part of the application of application A. So if there will be different groups, then it would start reporting to a different application altogether, or it will have a different channel built up, right? So how it really affects an environment, because if you'll create different host groups, it will create different kind of services within your application, right? So when we'll be getting into the core configurations sessions, there we'll be having a look at that, right? So let's, because we are limited on time, we just had like 5 6 odd minutes left. So let's see how we can install one agent on a Windows setup. So I'll just trying to install one of the agents on my laptop, right? Right. So this is just one Dynatrace one agent that I've already downloaded. But let's say if we want to go back and see how it really looks like on the UI. So this is going to be the Dynatrace UI, right? So just come down here onto the main menu, right? So this is called as the main menu or hamburger menu, and just scroll all the way down. You will have a deploy Dynatrace section down here. Just click on deploy Dynatrace. And the minute you click on deploy Dynatrace, you get an option called as start installation. Click on start installation, go down to Windows or whatever OS that you have. And here you need to create a token. Just create a token and then select a mode, right? And then just click on download one agent installer. So it will start downloading the agents down here. I don't really need to download it because I already have it, right? And let's just trigger the installation in the background so that we can just quickly get started with that. Just a second. Okay. So before, just so that the agent installation is working kind of in the background, let me explain you all of these things, right? So let's say I want to give a host group as, let's say, test bed, right? Right. And whatever custom name, ABC-XYZ, or tags, let's say tag, and properties as properties, Disha, right? So the minute I do all of these things, okay, the installer is kind of taking some time. Okay, so guys, we'll continue this. If the meeting link expires, let's try to rejoin on the same because I want to finish off this installation piece. I know that थोड़ा meeting invite का problem है, but yes. Okay, so we come down here, right? All you need to do is, and how simple it is, you just need to click on next, next, right? And then the commands that you have given down here, just copy from this particular section, right? And paste it here, right? The minute you do that, da, 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 it goes, acha, okay, I kind of did an incomplete paste. Yeah, just click that and click on install, and you're good to go. That's how simple it is to install the Dynatrace OneAgent, right? That's so simple. All you need to do is just make sure that your ports are open, which we kind of discussed in the first session where we understood the architecture. But if you need any help, definitely reach out to me on the WhatsApp group and I'll be happy to help on that. Right. So in the meantime, it is just kind of installing itself up, how it would look like. So now this host group will build up and it will create a zone where I can change all of the thresholds and everything for a specific set of servers. Right? Let's assume that I've created an application A, right? So what would happen if I only want to tune the thresholds for application A? Now this host group will create an entire section within Dynatrace that will give me the flexibility to change the parameters of application one only, right? I don't have to go back, set any global configurations, which will impact everything within my environment. You only can change the values for application A, right? That's plain simple. Okay, so the meeting will expire within 30 seconds or so, right? Or probably one minute or so, right? So once it expires, please rejoin, right? So that we can look out for how it really looks like. I know it is going beyond like 40 seconds because we probably my time management is not that great, but yes, do join back, right? So that we can continue from the point where we kind of left off, right? Okay, so in the meantime, it is just getting installed. I'll take the question. We have installed one agent and it is monitoring all of the process. If the application team has restarted the process, we are to get seen because we have to do. Okay, so let's say Nilima, sorry. Nilima, if your application processes are getting restarted, definitely the PID would change, right? And you would be getting an alert. But instead of setting the alert, so what I can assume is that you have enabled the option where the availability of the process alert is kind of turned on. And if that happens, Dynatrace will look out that this process is not available and it will keep on triggering you an email, and it will get closed after 12 hours by default because the same PID doesn't come really up, so it will give you that alarm anyways. But looking out for I don't really suggest going out with that particular configuration for your entire environment.